Hello there duelists! I'm no gardener, but I do like a good plant deck. From Plant Synchro to Sylvans, I just can't help myself. So when the list from Ghosts of the Past dropped, so did my money. And for better or for worse, we have Sunavalon on the playmat. Piloted by Spectre in the show, which I haven't actually watched, Sunavalon have got some classic gimmicks. You know, evolving a small card step by step into its maximum evolution. Basing the entire deck around a normal monster. These are concepts all too familiar to Yu-Gi-Oh! But they've also got some really solid cards which kind of wrap that up. And with some plant good stuff in the mix, I'm sure this deck can bloom. So let's dig into the roots. Okay, so we're going to hit the plants first, and this section is going to be the vast majority of the profile because it's, again, our monster mash. So we've got 3 of the Sunseed Genius Loci. So the whole deck's kind of based around kind of planting this and then kind of watching it grow, shall we say, as a classic kind of YouTuber stupid joke would go. So again, it does nothing, it's a normal monster, it's garbage, but you need it, and you need it at 3. It being a normal monster, it means you can kind of got extra search options and extra special summoning options, but again, if it had an effect, it wouldn't be any worse. From there, we're running 3 Sunseed Shadow. So as much as the normal monster is kind of the, I suppose, the engine and the core of the deck, this is actually an insane card. It can special summon itself if you control the normal monster, and then you can banish it from your graveyard to target 1 link 2 or lower Sunavalon monster on the field, and then special summon the same one from the extra deck. So that's kind of cheating out more materials, which is really a really great card. And then finally, the last Sunseed card we're playing, at least in the monsters, is Sunseed Twin. This is not bad either. So if it's normal special summoned, you can target a level 4 lower plant normal monster in your graveyard. So you could run other normal plants. In fact, I think the Sunseed Shadow is the same, but we're not, and special summon it. And then if it's in the graveyard with 2 link monsters, Sunavalon link monsters with the same name, you can banish it and one of them to special summon the other. Again, it's not bad, but I didn't want to eat up too many normal summons, and normally kind of going through to this route, other routes. But it's not a bad addition. So that's kind of the core of the Sunseed bit. From there, we've basically got an absolute buttload of plant stuff. So we've got the classic 3 Lonefire Blossoms, so tribute to special summon any plant. It's obviously really, really good here. Then we've got a kind of small Rikka engine, so we've got Primula, Mudan and Snowdrop. Again, I'm going to try not to butcher these names too much. So Rikka, Primula, Rikka is not a useful term here when I've got 3 in front of me, can special summon itself if a monster is tributed, and it can also increase the level of monsters on the field, which doesn't really come up that often. It might do on occasion, but I've not really seen it come up. Mudan can special summon itself by tributing a monster on the field, and you can add a Rikka spell or trap card, which we are playing. And then we've got Snowdrop, which can tribute a monster on field and then summon it itself and a monster from your hand, which is actually really solid and a good way of kind of getting out extenders. It can also make everything on the field the same level. So you target 1 plant and make all of the monsters on the field that same level. It's a really solid addition and kind of gives you options in the extra deck that this deck wouldn't have access to. And I feel like it gives it a bit more disruption going first. From there, we're playing 1 Aromage Laurel, 1 Spore, and 1 Rose Girl. So again, continue with kind of good stuff. So Laurel can special summon itself if you've got more life points than your opponent, and then if it's sent to the graveyard, you can gain 500 life points, which comes up in the combos, and is a good way of basically extending. Spore's obviously a classically great plant monster. Banish 1 from the graveyard, special summon it, it becomes the level of itself plus the banished monster. You can only use it once per duel, which is super sad, but you know, it's a really good card. Rose Girl, if a face-up plant monster, it leaves the field, you can special summon it from your hand, and if it's in your graveyard, you can add it back to your hand. And you can only use 1 of those per turn, but it's still solid, and it's a tuner as well, which actually comes up, because being level 3 works quite well with Lonefire Blossom for some of our extra deck options. From there, running 2 more kind of plant good stuffs. We're running 1 World Carrotweight Champion and 1 Mardel Generaider Boss of Light. So that's Generaider Boss of Light is a bit of a brick. The others you can kind of get away with drawing, but yeah, Mardel is definitely a a clanger to draw. So when that's summoned, you can add a plant monster from your deck to your hand, which is really great. Will Carrotweight Champion. If it's in the graveyard, you can send one plant-type monster from your hand or face up from your side of the field to special summon it. It's level 4, which comes up and gives us options. From there, we've got some of our kind of, I suppose, combo extenders. So we've got 2 Parallel Exceed, 2 Blackwing Zephyros the Elite, and 2 Performage Trick Clown. So, Parallel Exceed, I think, is just a great way of getting some of our options in our extra deck. It puts bodies on board. You do get plant locked by a few of these cards, which I have failed to mention, but you've got to be aware of that. But most of the time you're summoning Parallel Exceed before you do anything at all, so it's kind of alright. Zephyros the Elite, it's in the graveyard, return 1 face-up card, special summon it, and then take it out at 400, should I say, which is important. The damage that you're taking is important for these 2 cards. Performage Trick Clan functions almost identically to Zephyros the Elite, apart from it doesn't bounce. You just, when it's sent to the graveyard, just take 1,000 damage to special summon it. It's got 0/0. And then we're running one playset of Effect Veiler, which again could be whatever you want. It's got, you know, I'm just trying to keep the budget on this down because it's quite a budget deck, and yeah, so pick what you've got. Okay, and we'll check out the spells and traps. I suppose the pot that this plant is growing in. So we're running 3 Sunvine Shrine, which is a really, really solid card, and I know it's searchable by the Link monster, which we'll get to, but it's so good that I feel like it's worth running. Like, if you have one in hand and then you get a second in hand by the search, it's no downside. There is no downside to it. Having said that, the cost, obviously, so what you can only activate if you control a Sunavalon monster, and you have to pitch a card from your hand in order to activate it. So you could say there's a bit of a downside there, and the cost is pretty steep, but a lot of our cards do, you know, have utility in the graveyard, which is why we're playing stuff like Zephyros and Trick Clown, and, you know, we've got Spore and Carrotweight Champion. So there's lots of stuff that wants to be discarded. And then once per turn, you can special summon a level 4 or lower plant normal monster from your graveyard. Obviously that is just our seed, but it could work for other stuff. And then during your end phase, you can send it to the graveyard to set a continuous trap card to your field from your graveyard, which I find really rarely comes up, but the option is there. So yeah, I think it's a super solid extender, and personally I think it's worth running at 3. From there, running normal support, so we're running 3 Unexpected Dai, and 2 Painful Decision. So Unexpected Dai, control no monster, special summon the normal monster out, the seed. Painful Decision, send a level 4 or lower normal monster from your deck to your graveyard, and then add that same monster from your deck to your hand. So Painful Decision kind of thins the deck a bit more, Unexpected Dai puts it on board. Both of these tend for me to be kind of like negate fodder, because I feel like maybe people are a bit trigger happy, especially when you don't really know what you're playing against. But yeah, they're really solid cards, and I think that you could choose to bump Painful Decision up. I would have absolutely no qualms with that. From there, running a few one-offs, so we're running 1 for 1, just that final way of getting into our seed, 1 Foolish Burial for, you know, all of the different stuff, and then 1 Rikka Glamour. So when you activate it, you contribute a plant type monster, which is kind of the gimmick of the Rikka stuff. You can contribute to get extra effects. So you add a Rikka monster from your deck to your hand, and then if you tributed a plant, you can add another plant type monster of the same level that you tributed. And the only one that works with is Primula and Will Carrotweight Champion, which is a great way of kind of thinning your deck. From there, we're playing 2 traps, so we're playing 1 Sunavalon Bloom and 1 Blessed Winds, which again is searchable and is a really good, you know, card for keeping your kind of options open. So Blessed Wind's got 3 effects. You can send a plant type monster if your hand or face up to the field to gain 500. You can pay 1,000, special summon a roam monster from your graveyard, and you can target a plant type monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and gain 500. And I've ordered those from least useful to most useful. So the recycling is crux here, because you run through a load of your extra deck in the combo. The extra deck is absolutely monstrously tight. So the fact that you can recycle cards is great. Occasionally you do want to use that special summon effect, but it doesn't come up that often. Again, all in all, it's a really solid card, and I really would recommend trying to go to this in your end board. Sunavalon Bloom is a really interesting card, actually. It's a solid card. So when it's activated, if you control a Link 4 or higher plant monster, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls, so it's a good way, you know, it's a non-monster effect negation, nailed it. And then also, during damage calculation, if a plant-type monster battles, you can make it gain the attack of every monster that it points to. So again, really, really good. I think you get a lot of this stuff is searchable, so I think it's really useful. Okay, so let's check out the flower of the extra deck. So running 2 Sunavalon Dryas. I really wish it was 3. I just can't find the space. Again, this extra deck is in flux. Like literally every single duel I'll play, I'll be like, oh, I definitely need that more cards or whatever, copies or whatever it is. So Dryas is kind of like your first port of call for kind of all of your combos. If it's link summoned, you can, using the Genius Loci, and it's in the extra deck zone, you can add a Sunvine spell trap card from your deck to your hand. Cannot be targeted for attacks and doesn't prevent your opponent from attacking life points directly. So that's common to, I think, all of the Sunavalon link monsters, so I'm not going to be repeating that bit. And then if you take effect damage, you can gain that much life points back and then special summon a Sunvine monster from your extra deck, which is pretty useful. It works really well with Zephyros and Trick Clown because it means you can get out Sunvine Healer. And we're also running 1 Sunvine Thrasher as well. And again, this is another one where I've seen loads of decks, they're running like 3 Sunvine Thrashers. I can understand why, but I just can't justify the space. It's actually one of the cards that I've been seriously considering cutting completely. So, Sunvine Healer. If a Sunavalon link monster you control leaves the field by card effect, destroy this card, and that's also the same for Sunvine Thrasher. Kind of the Sunvine link monsters have that in common. And then if it's special summon, you can target 1 Sunavalon monster on the field and gain life points equal to its link rating. And importantly, that means that the combination of Sunavalon Dryas and Healer puts you at over 8,000 life points. So going first, you'll be able to use your aroma stuff a bit more to its maximum potential, should we say. And then if your link monster, if your plant monster inflicts battle damage, you gain 600 life points. But yeah, it's kind of irrelevant because Sunvine Healer immediately leaves the field, it doesn't stay on board. Sunvine Thrasher gains 800 attack times the number of link ratings for a Sunavalon monster on the field, and then it's kind of got a Goyo Guardian effect, whereas if it destroys a monster by battle, you can special summon it back to your side of the field to a zone that a link monster points to, and its effects negate, blah, 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 blah. So again, it's just kind of a beta, if I'm being honest, which is why I've been seriously considering cutting it. But again, it's really useful and it can get to some serious high attack. And then I'm running a few link 2, so I'm running 1 Sunavalon Daphne, and again, this is one of the cards that I really wish, you know, I had the space for 2 of. Then 2 Aromaseraphy Jasmine. So Jasmine's, you know, your classic plant good stuff. Tribute a monster to special summon a tribute monster it points to, should I say, to special summon a plant type monster. It just gets you into your engine. It's just seriously good. And then if you gain life points, you can add a plant type monster from your deck to your hand, and that's actually not once per turn. So you can use both of the Jasmines if you gain life points, which is, you know, a double search, which is really, really solid. Daphne is, I would say, not that great. You can tribute 1 monster, target 2 plant monsters in your graveyard, accept itself, return to the extra deck. A bit terrible, but it's the Sunseed Shadow that really works well, because you can get 2 of these on board, and it really just gives you extra fuel. So that's the bit where I've been torn with. So yeah, it might be that I end up bumping this up to 2 and cutting the Thrasher entirely. I don't know. We'll see how we get on. From there, running 2 of our new Link 3, which is Sunavalon Melias. So this guy's great. I think, you know, he's kind of your way to perform your U-Link. So if he's link summoned, you can special summon the Genius Loci from your graveyard. And then once per turn, you can target a Sunvine link monster you control that it points to. It can attack the number of times up to the number of Sunavalon link monsters you control. Rarely comes up. But I think the fact that when it's link summoned, you can special summon, that's not a once per turn, so you can use both of them in the same turn. And then finally we've got a couple of link 4s. So we've got 1 Sunavalon Dryatrentiay, which I've clearly butchered that name. I'm about to butcher this one as well. Benghalancer the Resurgent, nailed it. Right, so let's do Benghalancer the first. So as a quick effect, you can target 1 effect once your opponent controls, you can take damage equal to its attack and then return it to hand, so it's kind of a compulse with a kind of burn effect, but obviously with your Sunavalon cards you can kind of, you know, get advantage from that. And then equally as important, if it's in the graveyard, you can banish 2 monsters with a link rating of 4 and special summon it back from the graveyard, so it's got a kind of recursion effect as well. It gets banished when it leaves the field, but it's still a super solid addition. It's basically built for this deck. I'm not really sure why it wasn't called just a Sunavalon the Resurgent or whatever. And then the Sunavalon Link 4, you can add a Sunavalon spell trap card, which is how we're adding Bloom from our deck to hands. And then it also has the additional effect that it can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, which is pretty decent as well. And then once per turn, you contribute 1 link monster it points to and destroy a number of cards your opponent controls up to the monster's link rating, which is, again, super solid for board clearing. But yeah, I think all in all, I think the Sunavalon monsters, the extra deck, are really, really great, but it's just that space. And then finally, I'm running a bunch of other stuff. So I'm running Aromaseraphy Sweet Marjoram, so you can add any of the winds from your deck to your hand when you special summon it. And then if you gain life points, target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. And while your opponent's life points are higher than your opponent cannot target plant monsters you control the card effects, which is, again, so it's got like a mass board, kind of like help, and then, you know, it's got disruption tied into it. It's just a great card. And again, the adding of the Blessed Winds just gives your deck way more legs. From there, running a couple of Rikka cards, so Rikka Queen Strenna and Teardrop, the Rikka Queen. So Strenna, any 2 level 4s, which means that Parallel Exceed becomes super useful because it can go straight into Rikka Queen. And then you can detach 1 and then add a plant type monster back from your graveyard to your hand. And then also, if it's tributed, which we do all the time, you can special summon a card from your extra deck and attach it as material, which is super useful for Hyperytron. Then finally, let's go on to Teardrop. I've realised this is going on forever, but there's a lot of different cards. I think there's just loads of effects going on. So Teardrop, you can detach a card, detach a material, and then tribute a monster, and it's quick effect if it has plants, which obviously it does. And then each time a monster is tributed, you gain 200 life points. Woo! 200, sorry, not 200 life points, 200 attack points. 200 life points would actually be solid. Hyperytron, it can attach 1 card from your graveyard if you activate that card in your turn, and then you can detach a material to negate your opponent's equivalent card. So it means you can attach a spell to negate spells, which means you kind of got spell and trap disruption all wrapped up in 1 card. Okay, so getting to the tippy top of the tree. I realise this video is a monster. I can't imagine anyone's watching a 20-minute Sunavalon video, but whatever. We'll finish it off. Sunavalons are a classic monster spam deck, so they're always going to really be up my street. They build a fairly solid board going first and can push through some disruption, you know, hand traps, etc. However, breaking boards is gonna be tough. Even, you know, with the effects of, you know, playing your Link 4s, basically Benghalancer and, you know, your Dryatrentiay. So it's going to be a 3 for relevance. As for the fun factor, I think the combos are actually quite neat. The main kind of line that you're going to be going through is fairly prescribed, you know, kind of once you get the hang of it, but there's really a lot of kind of options kind of surrounding that, which I think is the more interesting part. And you can even build the deck, you know, to U-Link. I think this one could just about manage it. Should you feel the need for that, or feel like it's most appropriate for the matchup. So I'm going to be sitting on the fence again with another 3 for fun factor. I would say as a plus for the Sunavalon deck is that it's actually pretty budget for the power level. At $140, you can definitely get your money's worth, you know, for what you're building. And you can even, you know, cut some of the more expensive kind of Rikka elements and make the deck even cheaper. So, are Sunavalons a giant redwood of the forest, or just an annoying weed in the garden? Let me know, and thanks for watching.